State officials want to make it easier to kick people out of polling places or to throw out their ballots after they vote. WRAL state government reporter Will Doran here now. Will, you were at the State Board of Elections today where the changes won approval. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, Ashley, there was a lot up for debate today, but maybe the biggest change deals with voter ID. Even though voter ID is state law, some people can still sometimes vote without an ID if they claim an excuse, like having their wallet stolen or religious objections to taking photos. Right now, elections officials can only reject people's excuses and throw out their ballot if there's unanimous agreement that they're lying. This new rule gets rid of that. Going forward, people without ID could have their ballot thrown out, even if some elections officials think that they do have a legitimate reason not to have an ID. Another new rule today gives polling place workers more freedom to eject people who they think are being too loud. And another one under debate creates a list of new technicalities that elections officials can use to throw out mail-in ballots, like if people use the wrong kind of envelope to send in their ballot. That one is going to be voted on next week.
Lots of changes, and as you said, they passed along party lines. So how did the board's Republican majority explain why this is needed?
Well, we really didn't hear very much from GOP officials today on why they want these changes. The chairman of the board never spoke at all. The others had very little to say. So after the meeting today, I asked State Elections Director Sam Hayes for his stance on why the changes are needed. He tells me that all of this is allowable under state law and that voters should have faith in the board's, quote, adherence to the letter and spirit of the law.
All right, let's talk about timing here. President Trump is expected to talk about elections tonight in a primetime address. How much does that influence decisions like the ones you were just talking about here in North Carolina at more of the local level?
Well, actually, that is a great question. And today, one of the Democratic board members who opposed these new changes, Jeff Carmen, said he thinks that this is exactly why North Carolina is pushing these changes. He spoke about national trends and pressure on GOP officials to promote what he called lies about voter fraud.
What frightens me the most by this rule is that we're supporting a lie. There's not significant voter fraud in our state. And if we're going to keep moving down that road that follows, I would say, a national movement, I think we need to really be careful.
But Carmen didn't sway any of the board's Republican members with that message, and these new changes passed even despite his objections.
All right, big changes with the 2026 elections fast approaching. Thank you, Will. You can find more from Will's reporting today online at the NC Capitol section of WRAL.com.